Hello and welcome to Inside Modular, the podcast of commercial modular construction brought to you by the Modular Building Institute. Today's episode is also brought to you by the now virtual Offsite Construction Expo, sponsored by MBI. Visit offsiteconstructionexpo.com today to join industry speakers, exhibitors, and attendees for the first virtual expo of 2020 on September 16th and 17th. Now everyone can attend for only $199. That's offsiteconstructionexpo.com. Welcome everyone. My name is John McMullen. I'm the marketing director here at MBI. And speaking of the Offsite Construction Expo, today I'm here with Dave Sikora, MBI's business development director. Dave has been involved with the Offsite Construction Expo since it got started, and he's here today to talk about its value to the industry and how MBI benefits from sponsoring it. How's it going, Dave?
Hey, it's going good, John. Thank you for having me.
Oh, sure. My pleasure. This is, I think, my very first live in-person podcast.
Hey, you always got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere. Well, we did have the teaser, the very first little teaser episode we did for the podcast. I had Tom on.
Okay.
Well, Tom had me on. Actually, I think was the way it worked. But
yeah.
But this is good. It's a nice, socially distanced, in-person podcast.
Absolutely.
So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. It's the world we live in right now, so we've got to, stay safe and do things the right way. But
right.
At the same time, we got to keep it going forward as well.
As best we can.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who haven't heard of it, what is the Offsite Construction Expo?
So the Offsite Construction Expo is an event that is held mainly to educate and make aware architects, engineers, contractors, owners, and developers about the advantages and the capabilities of modular and offsite construction, and to connect them further with the industry who builds those projects for potentially working together in the future.
And MBI has been sponsoring these expos from the start, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. MBI has been the main sponsor of the expos since the inception of the shows, I think going back 5 or 6 years now, maybe.
And MBI wanted to start sponsoring these events. Why?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the Modular Building Institute, one of the main goals of the association is to grow the industry, grow the commercial modular construction industry. And part of that is the greater family of offsite or prefabricated construction as well, modular being a large portion of that. But being involved in the expo gives the Institute the opportunity to promote the industry and further grow it.
So that leads me very nicely into my next question. For those who aren't as familiar with the whole industry, what's the difference between volumetric modular and off-site, prefabrication, that whole kind of thing?
Sure. I think the best way to explain it, as we explain it at the Institute, is that modular construction is three-dimensional, volumetric construction. So the buildings come out in modules out of the factory and then are put together and married side by side or stacked on top of one another on site, where prefabricated work or off-site work can really relate to almost anything. But in general, for our discussion, it's prefabricated panels. It could be bathroom pods. It could be head walls. It could be roof trusses. So components that make up the larger building, where modular is coming out, anywhere from 65 to 90% complete out of the factory, with the rest of the work being completed on site.
And so the expos, since they've been around, have had sort of a regional focus. They've been in certain parts of the country. Why the regional focus for each show?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The regional focus really relates back to the industry itself, in that most of the factories, to be cost effective to deliver these projects, are within, the project has to be within a 300 to 500 mile radius of the project. So bringing in a regional focus allows us to bring in, architects, engineers, owners, contractors that are local to that geographic region to connect with the industry who is also local to that industry, so they can potentially do business and build projects together going forward.
So tell me about your experience at the expos. You've been going to these since they started, and I was with you last fall at the expo in Washington, D.C. It reminded me a little bit of a mini World of Modular. But how have the expos themselves changed over the years?
Yeah, I think the main ways they've changed is that if they've grown, and they've also grown just in excitement at the shows themselves. I think that, the first couple years it was sort of a feel out process, everybody kind of trying to understand what the shows were about. And now I think, the folks get it, the industry certainly gets it. They're excited to be there to exhibit their, their building processes, their solutions, and that we have qualified, targeted, end users coming to the show with projects in many cases on the table. So that's the exciting part that I think has, the show has kind of gone forward with over the past couple years.
So we started off this podcast talking about the times we live in, and here's another reminder. This year's Expo, all three of them have gone virtual because of COVID-19 and all the things we're dealing with. So, but the show itself is still getting lots of great exhibits and great speakers, including a lot of MBI members, which is awesome. What are you hoping attendees get out of these virtual shows?
Yeah, yeah, I'm hoping that they get the same thing out of the virtual shows as they do the in-person shows. That they're coming for the case study presentations that are going to give them, elements of design, engineering, and manufacturing, processes of a modular build or an offsite build. So they can learn, first and foremost from the case study presentations, but then even further to go to the virtual booths, to click on each of our exhibitors' spaces to view case study videos that they've produced, to view company brochures and literature, maybe of projects that they've produced. And then also there's a live chat feature where they can click on and they can type in questions or just connect with those exhibitors. So hopefully they're going to get the same experience out of the in-person shows. Obviously, a little bit different, but as much as possible, we want them to get that same experience.
Gotcha. I was going to say, it sounds very much like the experience you would have at an in-person event. Can you tell a little bit more about the agenda for each expo, what an attendee could expect if they register for the expo?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's a great question, John. I think we've tried to mimic the in-person show as much as possible, to the virtual show, and so we're going to start each day by having all attendees enjoy a cup of coffee if they want on a sponsor of that coffee, just like we would in the in-person event. We'll send them an email with that voucher to start their day with if they so choose, or maybe they save it for another day. But either way, we want to give them that sort of warm welcoming. They're here, for the expo with a cup of coffee, and the exhibits will be open. We'll have Tom Hardiman or Stephen Williams, opening up and giving attendees the information and the guidance on what the day is going to entail and kind of how to navigate the show.
Okay. And the booths will be virtual.
Mm-hmm.
What I understand, a page with each exhibitor's materials that they'll be able to see and chat with the exhibitors live.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, and then there's case studies and presentations after the exhibit hall, and then they'll have more exhibit hall time. So it's a whole progression that they go through.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. They'll have an hour exhibit time in the morning from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. to start with, and then we'll go into the case study presentations. That will be about 30 minutes in length, and then they'll have 10 minutes of Q&A, which is important so that folks that are attending can type in their questions, and Tom or Steven, someone from the staff here, will go ahead and moderate those questions back to the presenters. So Yeah, we'll finish up that 40 minutes, and then we'll take a break for 20 minutes where they can go back to the website page with the exhibitors on there and click on any of the exhibits that they wish to visit. And then, they'll get notified that, hey, it's time to come back to the presentations 20 minutes later, and we'll kick off on the hour another presentation. It'll kind of flow that way throughout the morning, and we'll end up concluding with after the third and final presentation for the day with about an hour of open exhibits and lunchtime with the exhibitors, if you will, in a virtual setting.
And that the expo itself is over 2 days.
That's correct. Yeah, and that's different from the in-person show where we're able to, get it all done in one day. But virtually, it's a lot of time for to go through 6 case studies, and expect somebody to be at their office desk for that long, tuned in and getting the most out of it.
Well, that makes total sense. And from what I've seen, there's a full speaker slate for the next show. I know there's lots of exhibitors. It sounds like it's going to be a great event, virtual or otherwise. It sounds like it's shaping up to be a great event. Yeah,
it's an awesome event. You're going to have a design perspective. You're going to have an engineering perspective. You're going to have manufacturer perspective, both in wood frame and steel frame modular projects. So a lot to take away from the agenda on the 6 case study presentations for sure.
Very good. Very good. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Again, the date for the next expo is September 16th and 17th. It's offsiteconstructionexpo.com. Dave, I think that's all the questions I had. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, John. Appreciate you having me.
And we're looking forward to the show.
All right.
My name is John McMullen, and this has been another episode of Inside Modular, the podcast of commercial modular construction. Until next time.